She thought she was done with it. That's the part that still makes people angry when they read this case. Not relieved, not happy, just done. The withdrawals had stopped for a bit. Her account looked normal again. She moved on. Then she checked it one more time and there was another charge. Not huge, not dramatic, just familiar enough to make your stomach drop. Because you don't forget paying something off, you remember that. And when it comes back anyway, it doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like someone's messing with you. And that's usually the moment people stop giving the benefit of the doubt. Her name was Catherine Rosas. Back in the mid-2000s, she took out payday loans online. According to court filings, it wasn't one loan, it wasn't even two. Over about a year, she took out 5. And before anyone jumps to conclusions, here's what matters. People don't take out 5 payday loans because they're careless. They take the first one because something went wrong. They take the second because the first one didn't actually fix it. It just pushed the problem a little further down the road. That's how this starts, not with panic, with relief. The websites didn't look crazy. The names didn't sound criminal. US Fast Cash, Merrill Loan, One Click Cash. Stuff that sounds boring enough to trust for a few minutes. And when you're stressed, boring feels safe. And this is where most people misunderstand what's actually happening. Money was leaving her account regularly, so in her head, she was paying it down. That's how loans work. You pay, the balance shrinks, you move on. Except that's not what was happening. Some of those withdrawals weren't paying off the loan at all. They were fees, which means she wasn't getting closer to done. She was just staying afloat. And a fee doesn't feel dangerous. A fee feels annoying, something you tell yourself you'll deal with later. Later keeps moving. Weeks go by, then months. At some point, you stop checking every charge closely because it's exhausting. You just see money leave and assume progress is happening. And this is where the tone shifts. That's when the anger kicks in, because when you realize what's going on, it's not, wow, this was expensive. It's, wait, I've been paying this the whole time? In the filings, the interest rate tied to our loans was listed at 782%. That number is absurd. But honestly, that's not the part that makes people mad. The anger comes from realizing the system wasn't built for you to finish quickly. It was built for you to stay. And if this feels a little abstract, this is usually the part where it clicks for people. There's a truck driver named Walter Archer, father of 4. He talked about borrowing $500 in his head. Deal was simple: pay $150 fee. Yeah, it hurts, but you survive it, then you're done. That's how normal people think about this. Not charts, not fine prints, just what does it cost me to get through the week. Then he realizes what's actually happening. He said every 2 weeks another fee would hit until the loan was repaid. And once you hear that, it changes how you hear everything else. Because now it's not a misunderstanding, it's not bad math, it's a loop. And once you see that, you start noticing the pattern. Small withdrawals over and over, always small enough that you don't explode immediately. Here's the messed up psychology of it. A big charge forces action. A small repeating one trains you to accept it. That's how people get stuck. Not because they're stupid, because the pain is spaced out. Okay, now zoom out for a second. This didn't just happen to Rosas or Walter. Federal prosecutors said this exact setup was happening all over the country. The name tied to the criminal case, Scott Tucker. I'm not gonna dramatize this. The facts are enough. The U.S. Attorney's Office described it as a $3.5 billion unlawful internet payday lending operation. Millions of customers, same structures, same loop. That's the moment it stops feeling like bad luck and starts feeling intentional, because one person getting trapped is tragic. Millions getting trapped is a machine, and machines don't need emotions. They need repetition, defaults, automation, people who can afford one big payoff but can survive smaller hits for a while. That's the engine. And at this point, the obvious question is how something like this stayed alive for so long. According to prosecutors, part of the operation involved using tribal affiliation. The allegation was that this structure was used like a shield, and when you combine a payment system that trains people slowly with the structure that's hard to shut down, you don't get a scam that blows up overnight, you get one that runs quietly for years until it doesn't. In 2017, prosecutors announced convictions. In 2018, Scott Tucker sentenced to 200 months in prison. His attorney, Timothy Moyer, to 84 months. authorities also described seizing things like exotic sports cars, and that contrast is where the anger really lands, because we're not talking about luxury borrowers, we're talking about people trying to make rent, buy groceries, keep the lights on, and then you see where the money ends up on the other side. Before this turns into another headline, bring it back to Rosa's for a second. Named borrower, real time, 5 loans, and according to the filings, her bank account was debited, interest was paid, the loans were repaid. That's important. This isn't about never paying. Sometimes they pay over and over, and that's the point. And this story has something most don't. Refunds. Over $500 million sent back out. More than 1 million people. That doesn't undo the stress. It doesn't give anyone their time back. It does confirm something important. This wasn't people being careless. This was people getting stuck in something designed to keep them there. So if you remember one thing from this, make it simple. Forget the crazy interest rate for a second. If money is leaving your account and the amount you actually owe isn't going down, you're not paying off a loan, you're feeding it. And when something like this is tied to autopay, it doesn't need you to keep agreeing. It just waits.